Kevin Hunter and Harry Brelsford here on Tech Tuesday on Northwest Digital News. And we're going to be talking about Linux and changing file and directory permissions. It's all yours, Harry. Take it away.
All righty. Well, Kevin, let's just do a little recap. June, we're calling Linux month. And the first episode, we talked about the different user types, for lack of a better word. So user group and world or other. Reasonably simple concept. And then in the second show, we talked about the basic permission types. So for the purposes of this recap, it would be read, write, and execute. And again, I just want to give you some context, folks, that here in the Pacific Northwest, we tend to favor Microsoft Windows, Microsoft Windows Server, but the concepts are the same. Okay, that's the cool thing. Maybe Kevin, I've been told, and it is on my bucket list to learn Spanish when I start to slow down. I don't know when that'll be, but it is. I want to learn a foreign language and I want to learn Spanish. And
no pasa nada.
But I've been told your first language, like learning Spanish is going to be the hardest, right? But then if I want to learn Portuguese, that's going to be far easier, because there's just enough similarity, right? Does that make sense? That if you learn one operating system, the second one's a heck of a lot easier.
I have a 100% German wife who is probably very low on the suspect list of somebody who would speak Spanish, but she does. She even spent some time in Spain. So
and that's a nice point. That's a nice part of the world. In fact, maybe if I become a Linux billionaire after this lecture series, I'll spend some time in Spain.
There you go.
Which is a little bit of a joke, folks, because Linux is actually open source, and at its roots, it's a free operating system at its core. But free is never free, Kevin. We've talked about that.
That is correct.
So, all right. So moving on. Let's say you don't want a colleague to see business photos. There's important reasons for that. Then we're talking about changing file and directory permissions. And so the change mode permissions will relate to the file, in this case, but chmod, change mode. And with using the command, we can set permissions, again, read, write, execute on a file or directory for the owner, a group, or the world. So another way to visualize that is a little cartoon with a two-way sign. Now, we're definitely double clicking in, folks. So join me, take a sip of water or a sip of coffee. Here we go.
And it pays to know which one of those two ways you're supposed to go, because I have to digress for just a really quick second here, Harry. I was sitting at Outback Steakhouse, and they use different terms on the restrooms. They're blokes and shebas. And this lady standing here looking at the sign remind me of this situation, because this elderly lady walks down towards the bathroom, and she looks over to one side, and it says shebas on the left. She looked over to her right, and it said blokes. She looked back over at shebas. She decided she was a bloke and headed into the men's restroom. And within seconds came busting out of there and running over to the other restroom. So it pays to know which one of these two ways you're supposed to go.
That is a good one. Let's keep it lighthearted and fun as we drop down into absolute mode and symbolic mode, folks. So we're gonna hit absolute numeric mode head on, and there are 8 values. Okay, so quickly, and this is controlled by the operating system, right? Harry did not make up these values, so this is built into what we call the kernel of the operating system in Linux. And so 0, no permission, 1, execute, 2, write, 3, execute and write, 4, read, 5, read and execute, 6, read, write, 7, read, write, execute. Now, what it shows is on my test, just to make my point, is that when you would execute such a command, the 764 absolute test, okay? So what that means with the 764, if again, just take it at face value. You can replay this presentation to really double click into the values. That's not the point. 764, based on the table that we had, is going to give the user read, write, execute, right? So 7 was like everything.
Yep.
6 was read, write, and 4, and that's for the group. We've been using Guru 99. And then all is read. And you can see that on the command line play out. Okay, so the read, write, execute in what I'm going to call bucket number 2 from our prior show, folks. We have 4 buckets on the command line. Please watch that again. Bucket number 2, you see after the initial hyphen over on the left, you'll see RWX. Bucket number 3, you see RW hyphen. And bucket number 4, you see R hyphen hyphen. Kevin, I've had about enough of that nonsense. That's a thinking person's game. Let's get to maybe something we can better relate to when we talk about symbolic mode. So symbolic mode allows the permissions to be changed for a specific mode. Compare that to the absolute mode in the prior example that would change permissions for all 3 entities. So once again, symbolic mode changes permissions for a specific owner. And you'll see in my example, the symbolic mode uses operators. So the plus sign is add a permission to a file or directory, minus remove, equal sets the permission and overrides the permission set earlier. And then the U is user owner, G group, 0 other, A all. That is a symbolic mode. That's the setup for it. And then I have an example of it, how it plays out for the test file, read, write, execute for the world. Bottom of folks, if you're looking at the bottom of the screen, read, write, execute of the test file. And moving on, as I like to say, you'll see that we changed using the symbolic mode. At the bottom of the screen, we have read, write, execute for the group Guru 99. Again, I know Kevin, I'm kind of glossing over it. What I hope to do with this peek at a double-click deep dive into Linux is have the listener get excited about it. I have a resource for you to get excited to learn more, and I encourage that. That resource is called a hands-on lab, and we'll post that up on. We'll post that up with this presentation, so you can go take a hands-on lab in Linux at your own time and own pace. And Kevin, I want to talk about this a little bit. I had a talk with my son, that and we've talked on the show, my son finished his, because 1 year ago yesterday, graduated from Cal Poly with an aerospace engineering degree, took a few weeks off, started work in the Mojave Desert at a missile base, yada, yada, yada. So 1 year later, okay, fast forward the movie, 1 year later, and he's asking about if his employer apparently will pay for an advanced degree. It's quite a benefit. And Kevin, the Mojave Desert, at what I like to call an undisclosed location. And so it's not possible for him to attend in-person graduate courses, say Pepperdine and other fine California institutions. And I said, Jeff, I said, some of the prestigious colleges now have online degrees that, they're real degrees, right? And, it's not like going to Harvard in person. It's not like going to Stanford in person. I'll give it that. But these are accredited, credible degrees. And the reason I'm kind of taking a left turn, Kevin, is that's essentially what hands-on labs are online. These are real educational opportunities, and people just need to, get their head around that. I don't know if you have any thoughts about online education, but it has really gotten real.
I've done it myself. In fact, one of the early online courses now this kind of stuff isn't really happening anymore, because once online courses became a thing, then of course you had a bunch of fraudsters and organizations that tried to piggyback on top of successful universities. And one of those I personally encountered. There was Hamilton College and Hamilton University, and one of the two has since been discredited and pulled down. But those you aren't seeing anymore today. But the online courses are definitely they're here to stay, and I expect to see even more and more of that kind of thing happening, where people actually aren't setting a foot on a university campus.
Yeah, and again, if you're in a remote, undisclosed location and you have an employer that will pay for a degree, and the degree is, I'm going to say, adequate, sufficient, maybe even beyond that, boy, howdy, Kevin. If I'm sitting in the desert and I have time at night and I want to better myself, I would do that. And again, I'll just kind of leave that hanging out there, because I'm trying to impart my philosophy of online learning. And in this case, it's a hands-on lab on Linux. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll make sure that resource is known to the viewers. Then I want to talk about a knowledge nugget that here again, in the same spirit that I picked a user group. I picked an organization in the Seattle area, the Puget Sound Small Business Server User Group. Now, folks in Portland, Seattle, Bay Area, Denver, there are meetups every single night. And you can pick the meetup of your choice. And I encourage you to do that. This is an example. They meet the third Thursday every month. I think they take the month of August off, Kevin, because it's so delightful up here. But you get free pizzas. You get free soda pops. It's held at Microsoft in Bellevue, Washington. And I told my sons along the same lines that, if you ever find yourself hungry, go to a meetup, go to a user group. You're going to get free pizza and soda pops that night. You can eat for free in Seattle.
Well, actually, if the opportunity arises at some point down the road, maybe I'd take Henry and we'd head up there and go check it out.
Yeah. Let's go. This is a good group of guys. I think the group now pulls in about 24 members to their meetings. Back in the day, it was probably north of 50. Times have changed.
Right.
But it's a good group of fellas. And I'll leave on that note, Kevin, we should do that to keep it real. And, you'll also see, and you'll appreciate, back in my dad's day, they called it poker night, where, the husbands would, I don't know if once a week, but maybe once a month, get together. And back then they smoked things like cigars and cigarettes, and they'd play cards. But Kevin, the point is that was their social group, right?
Sure.
That's what they did. And that's what these user groups are. Well, I'll tell you what, let's bring it in for a summary. Let's bring this whole month of June in for a landing. Boy, howdy, folks. We're talking the last 3 episodes. We talked about the Linux opportunity, file permissions, authorization levels, ownership. Then we double-clicked into permissions, changing file and directory permissions in absolute and symbolic mode. We handed you off to a hands-on lab. And I left you with a knowledge nugget to participate in user groups and meetups. And Kevin, that basically brings this plane in for a landing for the month of June, my friend. So we're off to July. Who knows what awaits us in July?
Who knows? More exciting adventures in tech. Well, thanks for all the great information on Linux, Harry, and I encourage our viewers to go back and check out the previous shows, because it covers all the things that you see here on the screen today. Kevin Hunter with Harry Brelsford on Tech Tuesdays on Northwest Asia News. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.